Now, before we start looking at the new Gutenberg editor, let's have a quick review of how things used to be before the Gutenberg editor was introduced. So I go to Pages here and then go to All Pages, and if I just bring up this page, the home page, which is blank at the moment. What I can do is I can insert some text, so I've just pasted some text in here, and it was very limited what you could do. I mean, you could say click here and you could add media and click on file there, insert the picture, and put another one in, and we'll insert a different picture, and there we go. So it was kind of simple to use, but very, very limiting. I mean, if you look what's available, you could add headings here, so header 1, 2, 6. You could use bold, italic, bullets, numbering. You could change the alignment, you could add links. Maybe you might want to select some text and possibly change the color of it using this control here. If you wanted those bold, obviously you just go here. So there was very little you could do. You could indent and unindent, and that was kind of about it, really. It was very, very, very limited. So I'll just update this. So we'll just save that. What I'm going to do now is go to look at our install plugins. I'm going to activate the Gutenberg editor. So within the plugins here, there's the installed Gutenberg plugin. I'll click on activate to activate it. So we're now running the new editor. So if I go to page, add new, whoa, all of a sudden things look different. We've got some controls up here, some bits and pieces here, which we'll have to look at in a minute. And then we've got some more bits and pieces over here, and then we've got some controls up here. So immediately things look different. It's suggesting I click here to add a title, so I could just click in there and I could say something like all about WordPress, and change the typo there. And as you can see, that's sort of been formatted as a heading up there. Where it says write your story, I'm going to click here and I'm going to try pasting a few paragraphs in. Look what happens. That gets pasted in as a paragraph, and at the end here there's a carriage return, or it's equivalent to pressing the enter key. So, and if you look carefully, this is basically got this little line around it. Down here, this next paragraph has another line around it. Here, whoops, we've got another paragraph, and down here we've got another paragraph. Now, this kind of nicely illustrates, if we just sort of move up here, what Gutenberg is all about. If we move up to the top bit, the heading up here, you can see that has that blue outline around it. That is a block. Move down here, this is another block, a paragraph block. If we move down here, another paragraph block. Down here, another paragraph block. And down here, another one. I mean, I could have typed these in, manually and just pressed enter, and that would have achieved the same effect. What I did in this case was just basically have a couple of paragraphs, I think 4 paragraphs in this case, and I just pasted them in. But it does nicely illustrate that everything now is based on blocks. At the moment we just have the heading block, the title block at the top here, and 1, 2, 3, 4 different paragraph blocks. If I go down to the end here, if I press return, look what happens. If I start typing, basically that is a new block. So by pressing enter, we created another new block, which is this one down here. So I've now got 5 blocks. Simply by typing in text and pressing enter, we get a new block, which by default will be a paragraph block. But what I can do is I can click over here to say add a new block, and instead of just adding paragraph blocks, you can have paragraph blocks, image blocks, heading blocks, quotes, lists, gallery, audio, cover image, and subheading. So let's say, for the sake of argument, down here I wanted to add an image. I would have clicked here, clicked on this add block plus symbol, click on where it says image, and from here I can now insert an image. I can either upload it or I can add it from my media library. So if I click on where it says media library, let's say I want this one here, I can do all the usual things like putting alt text in, put a description and a caption, so all the kind of stuff you used to be able to do in the old version. Click on select here and there you are, in the picture goes. And as you can see, I've also got some controls here to allow me to edit this. So for instance, I can align to the left, I can center, align to the right. I can also have a wide width, or over here I can have full width. Now you'll find that this facility here where I've got, in this case, an image full width, that only works if the theme supports this. So remember, in this case I had a theme called CoBlocks, and it'll work. With other themes you might find that unless your theme has been updated to properly support Gutenberg, you might find you click, for instance, on this one here where it says full width, and it doesn't actually display as full width. So do remember there is this relationship between the editor and the theme you're using, so you do need a theme that's fully compatible with the new Gutenberg editor. You'll notice you've got other things here, so for instance you can edit the image, and if you want to add a link, you just simply click here and type your link in. So that's kind of similar to the old way of doing things, but as you can see it's a lot more flexible. So already we're beginning to see some of the some of the differences. Let's say within this first block I wanted to change, say, the size of the text. You'll notice over here I can click here, and that's there we go. It wasn't working originally, so I can go for small text, medium text, large text, and extra large text. So already immediately you're seeing there's more flexibility. So you've got these presets here, and I could of course just use the drag here. So as you can see, there's a lot more that is easier to use basically. Do you want to drop caps? Yes, there you go, drop caps. Don't want it, click on it again. Do you want some background color in this block? Remember, you're applying this formatting information to this particular block. So let's say you wanted a background color. You could have maybe that there, and then it says, oh, this color combination may be hard for people to read, so it's kind of warning you that that wasn't a great idea. So maybe, how about a different color, maybe something like one of these, or a lighter color, maybe something like that. There you are, that is now easier to read. So there's a lot in here that's basically giving you much more flexibility. It is early days yet, remember. As the editor is developed, more features will be made available. But that's a very, very sort of quick sort of introduction as to how you can create new blocks. Normally you'll be using paragraph text blocks, but as you see, in adding other type of blocks is equally easy. So let's click here, and let's click on here again. Let's say you wanted something else, like maybe a different heading. You could click here and say, right, I want an H2, so I could have something like you could have something like that. And again, with the old version of the editor, you could do H1s, H2s, H3s, H4s, all the way to H6s. But it just makes it a lot easier to see what's going on. Let's say you wanted to change this from an H2 to an H4. There you are. It's very, very simple. So what you've got here, if I just click outside that, as you can see, is a heading block. Up here, it's a paragraph block. Yes, if we come down here, this one is an image block. So you kind of get the idea. It's all about blocks. I mean, let's try something else. Let's click here. Let's click here. Remember, this symbol here is for adding a new block. Let's say you wanted to add maybe a list. You could start typing your list. There we go. Click within that. Whoops, click that. Click within that. Whoops. There we go. Click within that. We'll move over it. And as you can see, this block is formatted as a list. Remember, this one is paragraph. This one is list. This one is heading. So it's kind of easy to insert these new blocks. And as I say, more blocks will become available in due course. But, you know, we've only spent a few minutes here, and as you can see, it's very, very easy to use. Let's say you wanted to insert a gallery of pictures. You could click here. You could select some pictures from your media. So let's select all of these ones here. There you are. I've now got a little gallery of pictures. That you couldn't do with the old version, so that was kind of nice, and you know, it's set it up nicely and formatted it in a nice way as well, so it all kind of fits in. And again, if we move over this, you can see it's marked as gallery. Notice there's a little bin here, so you can remove things if you don't want them. So let's say you wanted to get rid of this heading here. You can just simply click on that, remove, bang, it's gone. Let's say you wanted this particular paragraph to be gone. Click here, bang, it's gone. Over here we could remove these if you want to, or if we go to here where it says more options, as you can see, you can do various things. So you could duplicate this. So let's say for some reason or other you wanted to duplicate this particular block, you could click on duplicate, and I've now got two blocks, that one and this one, and we click within them. You can see they're both separate blocks. There you are. That was really, really simple. If we go back within here, we can do other things. So for instance, we could edit as a HTML. So if you've got HTML skills, you can edit directly. With the old version of the editor, you could look at the old sort of editing tab if you wanted to and look at the HTML, but that was for the entire page. Whereas here, you do it on a block by block page, a block by block basis. If you go back here, you can say, okay, let's edit visually. And so that's the effect of the HTML. Going back here, you see the HTML code itself. So you can switch from one to the other, like so. And if we're within here, you know, you can format these in the normal way. So I could select this and say bold, italic, you know, all the usual things, insert and what have you. I could change this, you know, if I wanted to number format or back to bullet points. So as you can see, I mean, just simply by playing around, it's very, very simple to kind of get the hang of it. So really you need to dive in and just create some sample pages and just play around, but you kind of get the idea. You know, it's a lot more interesting visually. I mean, already, I mean, I'm just messing about here, but as you can see, it looks more interesting than the old classic version. If I come down the bottom here, there's another thing, by the way. If I click here, these are the most used blocks. If I move down here, you've also got common blocks. So these things here. You've got formatting blocks. Notice table. You didn't have table before. In fact, let's insert a table just to show you. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could use plugins with the old editor to achieve a table, but you know, each one works in a slightly different way, whereas now tables are directly supported. What else have we got? Let's have a quick look. Go down here. So you had the formatting blocks, you know, the table and what have you. We got other things like verse and pull quote and things. If we go down here, you can have layout elements. So you can have things like a spacer. So insert a spacer. So that will insert a spacer element for you. And again, you can see that's listed as a spacer. Let's go down here and see what else we've got. Right, so we've got those we just looked at. You've got widgets. The good old widgets are still there. So for instance, let's say you want to insert a shortcode. If you're familiar with what those are, you just simply click on this and in you go. Let's say you wanted a widget to display your latest post, so we could go there. And then further down here we've got embeds. So you can embed various things, like for instance embedding a YouTube video or a Facebook post or whatever it happens to be. As you can see, lots and lots of these, and more of these obviously will be added as time goes by. So we'll look at a little bit more detail in some of these things later, but you kind of get the idea. It's different, but it's not very difficult. It's easy to use. It's been designed to be easy to use, and some people have complained about the fact it's a little bit simple. Well, yes it is, but this is going to be the first version, and more sort of intricate formats will be available later on. Incidentally, if you're wondering what this thing does, this thing called content structure, if you click on that, it basically shows you at a glance how many words you got, how many headings you got, how many paragraphs, and how many blocks. And it kind of gives you an outline here. So at the moment I've got my title there, and then I've got the H2 down here. If I go and added another, say H3, so let's go down here, and let's go and add a heading, and we'll make this an H3, and we'll just call this SEO tips, just for something to go in there. If we click up here, as you can see, I've got the structure here, which is the title, the H2 there, and the H3 here. So again, it just makes it easy to see what's going on. One of the problems with the original editor is that it was very common for people to put multiple header ones within a page, and that was something Google definitely didn't like from an SEO point of view, because if you're familiar with SEO is search engine optimization. On any single WordPress page, you should have one H1, possibly a couple of H2s and H3s and so forth. So the golden rule is only one H1, one heading one. And the other thing is you shouldn't have gaps. So for instance, you shouldn't have a header 1 and a header 3 with no header 2. It doesn't make any sense. And Google would actually reward you for using headers properly. So the rule is one H1 on a page, as many H2s, H3s, H4s as you want, but no gaps in the hierarchy. So, as I say, we've barely looked at it yet, but hopefully you're getting the idea that it's actually very simple to use. It's a bit scary at first, I admit, but you'll learn how to get the hang of it, and I think you'll probably grow to love it. I mean, it's the opinions are divided at the moment. A lot of people say, well, let's stick with the old that we know. But the old was getting very old, very long in the tooth, and this is an attempt to finally sort of update the editor